So the neighborhood that I've chosen to do this project on is Lexington, Kentucky. I've had to be in Lexington from Wednesday, September 25th through Sunday, September 29th for a golf tournament at the University of Kentucky. So every night that I was in Lexington, I was able to go to the downtown area and spend time observing people and walking around observing the architecture and other details of the city. So with my observations each night, it appeared that Lexington is a very family-focused town. Most of the relationships that I saw were families out with their children, older couples that looked to be of retirement age walking around, and couples on dates. I also observed several friend groups, but the majority of them were either all male or all female and all around college age, which makes sense because Lexington is a college town with the University of Kentucky and Transylvania University being right here. One observation that I made about the city was the amount of churches. There were several Baptist churches, several Methodist churches, a non-denominational church, several Presbyterian churches, Episcopal, and Catholic churches. Lexington also has several interesting historical sites that drew visitors. The house that Mary Todd Lincoln grew up in was on the outskirts of the downtown region. Of course, Mary Todd Lincoln was the wife of Abraham Lincoln, the President of the United States that abolished slavery. It's interesting that right next to the Mary Todd Lincoln House is Rupp Arena, where the University of Kentucky's famed basketball team plays all of its home games. The town has had several historical markers for visitors to read. So there's a couple examples of one. There's Isaac Shelby was the first governor of Kentucky, so there's a sign that talks about him. And the building where he was inaugurated is still around, actually, from 1792. So that building is still there in Lexington. There's another historical sign that talked about slavery in Fayette County, and actually the sign points out where the whippings would take place to punish slaves for their offenses. Apparently Fayette County was one of the largest slaveholding counties in Kentucky. But it's interesting that Lexington embraces the history of their slaves and even advertises it, but it is a large part of their history. And it makes me wonder if this is partly due to the fact that Lexington is where Mary Todd Lincoln is from, and her husband's legacy is so tied with the abolition of slavery. Lexington has a unique blend of buildings that were built in the 1700s and buildings that have been built in the past 20 years. There's a lot of restaurants in the downtown area and deli shops as well as a lot of liquor shops and professional businesses like retail shops and banks. The paintings throughout the city on the walls of buildings are also unique and different. For example, one mural is of a naked girl that appears to be huddled and cold and tired and hungry, and there are two men wearing meerkat masks trying to talk to her. There's another mural of a jockey riding a horse on the side of a bar called the Village Idiot. Kentucky, of course, is the home of the Kentucky Derby, the famous horse race held every May, so it makes sense that many of the statues and art in the city relates to horses. Even signs for Lexington's Visitor Center has pictures of horses on it. There's also a nice green space in the middle of the city that has a large fountain that spans about 100 yards and a smaller fountain at the entrance of the park. There's a variety of tables and chairs to encourage people to sit outside and talk and eat food from the local food truck that sits next to the park. However, this green space has also attracted several homeless people who are sleeping on the tables and chairs each night. Very close to the green space actually was a pavilion. It has vendors with food and drinks throughout the week, so that was a primary gathering place. On one night, the pavilion was packed with a lot of college-age people listening to music, and they came for a free event with food and drinks. And the next night, it was a lot calmer and it was more of a family atmosphere with soothing music. So those are my experiences from Lexington, Kentucky.